Hey everyone, Anthony Totera here. If you allow me a few minutes of your time, I'd love to share with you some of the Canadian football stories I have. When we talk about soccer in British Columbia, we usually talk about the Vancouver Whitecaps, but there's so much more to talk about than just the Whitecaps. With a new stadium on the horizon and the team doing exceptionally well, spotlight is back on BC as a soccer province. But before the stadium stories and the Vancouver Whitecaps having success long ago, British Columbia had its own history in the game. A lot of national team players that have come out of that province. A lot of great stories from Swan Guard Stadium and men and women that have gone on to success to make that province of BC proud. Football in BC was built on communities, was built on volunteers, was built on people that dedicated their life to the game, and it's still evident today. So I want to tell you a special story about a player, about a legend, former national team player in Dominic Mobilio. For those of you that don't know, Dominic Mobilio, a former Vancouver 86er, prolific scorer, and former Canadian men's national team striker as well. Dominic Mobilio tragically passed away in the year 2004 at the age of 35, but his legacy and his memory will never be forgotten in the province of BC and in the city of Vancouver. To understand the legacy that he left behind, I had the opportunity to speak with some of his friends, former teammates, and people that really knew Dominic on and off the field.
Joining us today, and it is a great pleasure to have you here, Tony Mobilio. Tony, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about your brother. Let's talk about your brother and when that passion began, when that journey started. When did he have that flame to play football?
I think according to my mom, he was kicking in her womb, but as soon as he was born, obviously he had a soccer ball to his foot and started playing when he was 4 years old with the Willingdon Cubs, coached by my uncles at the time. And he grew up in that organization. They won a few provincial cups. Our league turned into a Metro League, and then he played with the Vancouver Whites the next. And also with that, growing up, he won the provincial cups there. And he had a son soccer boy to his, runner-up son soccer boy to his credit. But he would, my brother would come even at 13, 14, 15 years old, would be downstairs in our unfinished basement, kicking the ball against the wall every night. And I'd have to yell at him at like 10:30, like, Dom, I gotta sleep. But he just always had that passion for the game. He loved it. It showed him on the field, off the field, and I incredibly miss him. And
What was the greatest moment for your parents when they watched their son play for not only the Vancouver 86ers, but for Canada? What did they enjoy the most of seeing their son on the spotlight? Obviously, they came to the greatest country in the world, Canada. They immigrated from Italy. What did it mean to them?
Dom was successful at every level, but I think what it meant to him is seeing how much he loved the game and how much his passion was on the field. And, we didn't mind hearing Vic Rauter say Mobilio every time he scored, which was often. But nonetheless, it was more that how much he loved the game and how much he loved his family and his friends. I think that's what was most important to my parents.
Alfredo Valente, thanks for joining us here today. Talk about Dominic, not just the player, but the person off the pitch. Talk about what he meant to you personally, what he meant to this province, to this area.
Yeah, what an honor to have Dom as a mentor, both on and off the field for me. Growing up watching Dom play, he was, one of my idols, and having him, be my godfather, he started to, lead the path for me from a soccer perspective, and then also in his later years as a coaching perspective.
You've done something amazing with your club. Show that jersey, or you mentioned a patch that you put on every jersey. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, in 2004, when Dom suddenly passed away, I was helping him out with Coquitlam City Soccer Club at the time. And just prior to that, Dom was in talks with Coquitlam Metro Ford to merge the two clubs in the Tri-Cities, which would have created a much larger club, both on the boys and the girls side. Unfortunately, Dom didn't get a chance to see that merge happen, but we're over 20 years later. That merge did happen very soon afterwards, and it's been a big success since Dom's passing. One of the best moments that we all had working with Dom on the field was at the summer camps and spring break camps that we all had. So we continue to honor Dom every year with the Mobilio 10 on the back of our camp shirts to this day, and it'll be something that'll stay forever for the club.
Amazing. Steve McDonald, talk about the player. Talk about that sweet touch, fierce finisher, and the guy that will go down in my mind in the history of Canadian football as being one of the best footballers we've ever produced coming from this area.
Well, he definitely was one of the best strikers Canada's ever produced. First touch in front of the box, in every time. just ice cold.
He had ice in his veins, as they would say. Talk about some of the important moments in his football journey. There was some moments that I remember, with North York Rockets in the Canadian Soccer League, when you thought you were going to take advantage of a moment in that game. Here comes Mobilio, puts one in the back of the net, and the lights are out.
He was a guy just needed one chance the whole game, and it was over. He was going to put it in every time. Yeah.
Outstanding. Mario, you know Dominic as a gentleman off the field. You spent a lot of quality time with him. You didn't just talk about football. You talked about life. You spent a lot of time with him. Talk about, enjoying some of those cappuccinos, enjoying some of those meals, and some of the times that you had together joking and laughing.
Yeah, Dom, his football capabilities are well documented. As Steve was saying as well, he was the guy that everyone would go to on the field to get that next goal or make that next assist. But Dom, my memories of Dom, I went to high school with him. I'm a year younger. Peter went to semi-school as well. He was just a guy that, when I have an image of Dom, it's not him playing soccer. He's got a smile on his face. Like, he was always in a good mood. Like, I never saw him angry. Every time you saw him, it was a big hug and a good conversation. Talked about life when we saw each other at bars or wherever it was, and so that's my real memory of Dom, is the kind of guy he was. He was just an exceptional human being, and he was welcoming to everybody. Like, he was just a wonderful guy. On the pitch, he was ruthless, but he was opposite off the field. He was just a good-natured human being, and that's what I think people miss the most out of Dom. Is his really always a good-natured attitude and always in a good mood and smiling, and that's my image of Dom before you get to the whole, watching him score a goal or doing the incredible things that they did on the field. And that's my fondest memories of him.
Pete Battiston, talk to this generation today, the people that really don't know who Dominic Mobilio was. I think they need to understand that he was someone that bled for Canada, blood, sweat, and tears. He put it all out there. What do you want this generation to know about Dominic Mobilio?
I want them to know that Dom was a role model. As a human being, as Mario and everybody here attested to, that it wasn't just about soccer. He was a true mentor of the game, but a human being. If you looked at the interactions he had during his camps and with his fans, it was about them. It was about pleasing them. It was about showing them that the game of soccer is more than just on the field. It's about life itself, and that he, as a family person, like as Tony and his brothers, and as one of my true best friends, I know that Steve McDonald and everybody here calls him a best friend, and that's the way he made you feel. They need to know that Dom is more about the game. He's more about family. And you know what? He's going to be missed. There's a lot of this new generation that don't see that true passion in players. A lot of them are playing for the wrong reasons. He played for the right reason, and it was about, he gave up a lot of opportunities to be here in front of his fans with his family, and his friends. He could have been anywhere in the world, but he chose to be here at home and played for his hometown so that he could entertain and be around those people. He set up all these soccer camps with the young kids so that he could pass on to them what was given to him by his mentors. Something that this new generation, I think, is going to miss a lot. And we are all going to miss him. We do think about him daily. I do. And again, I think this new generation has lost that. But I hope that what you're doing here and what all of us are doing is going to bring his memory back up to the front and show this new generation that he's missed.
Tony, let's talk about when he played for Canada. Steve, you can talk about this as well. Alfredo, what did it mean to him the first time he put on that Canada jersey?
Oh, it meant the world to him. I think he was 15 years old, went to the U16 championships, and a great little story. He was with Rick Celebrini in the elevator, and they played Italy the day, and they tied 2-2. And I think Dom took a shot and hit a guy in the head and knocked him out. So there was 4 or 5 Italians in there, and they were talking Italian. We're going to get this guy. So Rick, who's Italian, half Italian as well, and Dom understood what he was saying. But, it definitely meant, all joking aside, it definitely meant the world for him. I think when it got to the national level, it was such an honor. I would have loved to seen him play up front a bit more there, but that's just my personal preference. But nonetheless, he loved it. Loved putting on that red and white jersey.
Stevie Alfredo, when he put on that Vancouver jersey, a local guy, what did it mean to him to represent that club?
he loved it. He loved it here, just like Peter mentioned. He gave up a lot to be here. It was his pride. His family's watching, his friends, and he gave it everything he got, and you could see that. And he was just so proud. Every game he went out like it was his last.
Alfredo, we'll close it out with this last comment. We talked about, again, the player on the field, but off the field to me is more important. That's why I want to do this story. I've been doing a number of stories all my career, and I never shake with the mic. I'm shaking because I get emotional because to me, the story was never told about this wonderful player, wonderful human being, always playing with a smile, always doing things in the community. I'll never forget when he came to games to play with Toronto Blizzard in North York. He'd always stay back to sign every single autograph of every kid. And one time the pen wasn't working, and he looked at me, he says, I need a pen right away, so he could continue. Talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dom was a legend. He's a legend in the game, there's no question. I mean, the way that he treated people, didn't matter who they were as teammates, but just as people in general, was first class. As somebody growing up watching him, he obviously knew me prior to being a teammate later on. Always took care of me, but watching him interact with other young players that would come in to the organization or to the team, I mean, he was inspirational because he was such a competitor. So he always felt like after every training session or game that he was able to help people get to the next level from a mentality standpoint and a competitive standpoint to get to where he was and some of the others like Stevie and some of the veteran guys on the team. And then, as a person, playing in Vancouver, playing with him in Edmonton, and then watching and going on the road, and the people just knowing Dom and just like being at awe, watching him, no different than, I was when I was younger, watching him lift his finger up in the air, scoring and running to the grandstands at Swangard it's always been inspirational.
A BC legend, a Canadian Hall of Famer. We miss you, Dominic. Thank you for all the memories. Dominic Mobilio is one of the great stories that emerged from the province of BC and the city of Vancouver. But professional football is only one part of the picture here. Just as important are the community clubs that have sustained for years and years the great game that we all love. In Vancouver is one of those clubs, Columbus FC, an Italian-Canadian-based club that has been there for years. Their story speaks on how football should preserve identity and tradition. Joe Cozzetto joins us here. Joe, thank you so much for joining us to talk about the Columbus journey. This is something that is near and dear to your heart and everyone here. And it's a great story. You've got a book put out with all the great stories and the journey, how it started. Where did it start? How did it start?
Well, first of all, thanks, Anthony. And I felt that story had to be told because it's very important not only for the soccer club, but for the Italian community at the time. So it started as a Sacred Heart church parish team. And a few years into it, the priests decided to make a team for the Italian community. And Columbus was formed and under the leadership of Peter Mainardi, who really led the group and made it a professional team when, unlike the other teams, the Columbus team was run like a professional team. With the newly arrived immigrants from Italy, there was a lot of bias, prejudice, and racism against the Italians, whether at work or at home. So the team and Callister Park, the Team Columbus became the unifying force and the symbol of the Italian community. It was kind of a form of redemption for all the bias that they incurred by the Anglo domination.
Joe, talk about how important it was to not only build that athlete, but to build that young man off the field and what it meant to this journey of Columbus to know that all of them aren't going to be professional footballers, but a number came out of this journey. But some of them were becoming lawyers, doctors, mechanics, you name it. How important was it that this journey instilled some of these values to them?
Well, the journey definitely did because the team was a family. And it continues even today. The people that are on there are all people that, get along with other people, good members of society. A lot of them became lawyers and doctors and accountants or workers or marketers or all sorts of things. But they always came back to the team and the family aspect of it, of still meeting today together. Annual meetings or dinners. We like to be with each other.
Charlie, talk about the journey and what it meant, not just to you, your family, but this area, the province of BC and Canada, because it just wasn't just this area. There was stories, there was memories that are still really near and dear to your heart and everyone's heart. Talk about those memories and journeys that are important to you?
Well, thank you. I've been across Canada quite a bit, and I mention some players sometimes in our discussion, and they're aware of all the players and some of the famous players and some of the infamous players who are really maybe a little bit didn't go right by the book in terms of the playing. So it was well known. Columbus team was well known, and going to the Toronto community, Italian community, they're aware of it. In Edmonton, they're aware of it. So across Canada, I believe that Columbus was well known, and it was. They knew it was an Italian team, originally based from immigrants, as Joe had just said. So it was something quite fascinating. That I just had to mention one name or whatever, and then a discussion would happen for. I know that player. Yeah, he was a dirty player, but God, I would like to have him on my team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Charlie, talk about the immigrants. They came here, they worked hard, and it was a safe zone when they got to play the game that they loved, and the families would get together, and the memories and the journeys began. How important was that?
Well, it was very important. I remember in elementary school and high school going to the games at Callister Park at 2 o'clock Sundays, and it was incredible. You see all your friends and all the people that hardworking people, carpenters, all different professions. They were there, and they were really proud of the team, and that say somebody is looking after them, and it was their team. And even when new players came in, they would always say, "Are they with us?" In terms of the Italian community. And we'd always say, yes, they are. And then they would support them 100%.
Amazing. Frank, you're part of the product on the field. You went on to an amazing career. You came from this area. Talk about that journey, what it meant to you as a player, representing that community, but also this community, this part of BC.
Well, I was a young boy when I first started watching Columbus. Dad would take us to Callister Park after Sunday church, and that was my first introduction to seeing, it's like top players, the Leonard Uzi brothers, Victor Cadelja, Bruce Wilson, Peter Greco, Sergio Zanata, and these were really players that became heroes for us as 5, 6, 7-year-olds. To see Italian Canadian players playing at that level and then moving on to play for Canada, we were proud. They were making our community proud, and I know Mom and Dad would speak very highly of those players then. And incidentally, just a story now, my mother is into her 90s, and when she got Joe's book and saw the story of Columbus, she cried. She saw a lot of the people that she remembered back in the day, and I think Joe touched on how important family has been. That is really at the core of Columbus. We are family, and you never really leave Columbus.
Frank, talk about playing with the Toronto Blizzard. I remember those days vividly, and you would always talk to me when we would meet up about, again, BC, this area, what Columbus meant to you and what they instilled in you and what you knew the responsibility was to carry on with you. Wherever you were playing professional football, how great was that they instilled that in you to take with you?
Yeah, I mean, I followed the university route, played it at Simon Fraser, and I was drafted into the NASL and went to Toronto. My association with Columbus proper as a player was actually following that, because I went on to play for the national team even prior to Columbus. But my association with the club was always there. My friends were already playing there, and it was the fact that I was playing at university and then into the pros for a bit that sort of kept me from there. But immediately upon concluding that and deciding to move on to a different career, I went into law enforcement. I mean, I continued to play with Columbus. It was that important to me, and I've been associated with the club now for 40 years. And I know that I will be associated with the club till death. That's how it works.
Awesome. Carmen D'Onofrio, you are 2025. Today the journey continues on. Talk about how it's taken a turn now in a different way. We talked to Joe where it started, but now you're grabbing it and taking off for the next generation and the new stories and new journeys.
Well, we did an important thing this past year where we merged with the Italian Canadian Sports Federation, the ICSF, and now Columbus not only just has a senior program of under 21 players up to over 75-year-olds that some of these guys play with, but now we've got kids. We've got 3- and 4-year-old kids wearing the ICSF Columbus FC crest and and logo and part of the club. So it's like the next generation coming through. And I remember the ICSF, we were down to 350 kids 5 years ago. Now with the influx of Columbus with the senior program, we're now over 1,000 kids and over 400 adults playing. And this is men and women. So the journey is bright. And for us, it's I always say we're creating footballers, but we're creating people. And I think it's really, really important to understand that, because through the tradition of Columbus, we build excellence. There's standards, there's things that we want to achieve. It's how we respect each other and how we conduct ourselves. Those are things that are so important. It's great to now to be able to instill that at a younger age group.
Carmen, before you answer this, when I talk to the players, I tell them it's so important to tell their coaches 2 simple words, to tell their parents 2 simple words, the volunteers at the club 2 simple words: thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. But what motivates you every day to continue doing what you're doing? Because let's be honest, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, the game gave me so much. I played with under 19, under 21, the Olympic, national teams. So I've always loved football. I went to school at Stanford University in a soccer scholarship. So the game gave me so much, and I really love what this game teaches people. It teaches kids, teamwork. Hard work gets you to the next level, working together, having goals, working on the pitch and off the pitch. There's so many self-discipline. There's so many important factors to creating a wonderful individual that comes through the game of soccer. So if I could, help push that along and get people to understand that and appreciate that, I think we make better people. I think we're a better society. And like these guys all said, we're a family. So all these kids, once they start seeing what we're doing, you can't help want to be part of it. It's contagious.
Well said, and we thank you. Joe, before we let you go, and Charlie, you look back now, maybe you're at home sitting alone, having that espresso, and you think about this journey. What comes to mind first and foremost? What's a memory you're going to take for the rest of your life when that journey began?
Well, again, as a child, and like Frank mentioned, we would go to Callister Park with my brother and family, and I wanted to play for Columbus as a 10-year-old. That was a dream of mine. And then having, 10 years later or 7 years later, playing with some of those guys that I saw play and, were in awe of, was probably the most important thing. At 18 years old, winning 5 cups: Provincial Cup, Imperial Cup, Western Canadian Cup, and the Canadian Championships. And that was at 18. I go, wow, that's only my first year.
Charlie, memory that's going to live with you forever?
Well, the memory, it's always family, number one. But I would never have thought that the tentacles of Columbus would spread around the world. Now we have, from our club, we have so many people that have contributed to the soccer community. We have Victor Montagnani, who's the president of CONCACAF, vice president of FIFA. We have Frank Chacha, who was at the Whitecaps. We have the Leonarduzzi's, who were with the Whitecaps, contributing all these stuff. And, there's so many other people to do. I was involved, I was a BC soccer president. We have Mike Findlay, who's generally the coach of Bermuda, and he coached some other national teams. So we have a lot of people that are involved. I was with over 20 years with the CSA and BC Soccer. So we have so many people that spread around that I don't think any other club has all the people in the administration and doing some other work. And I'm sure I've forgotten so many people, but there's a lot of them.
Well, listen, Frank, Carmen, a little birdie told me before I got together to do this interview that your club, you men, and many men and women in this journey have taken money out of their pocket to help some of the players that couldn't afford it, to buy boots, to buy shirts, to help out. That's incredible. Talk about the commitment that these people have.
Well, absolutely. I think that we get back to the core of family. If an Italian family saw someone who was struggling and they needed to be lifted, they're the first to reach out. And it could be a meal, it could be $20 for whatever boots back in the day. That's not going to get you boots today, of course. But I carried those values into the various roles I had. And when I was the technical director of our Burnaby club here, I told all of our staff there will be no kids turned away at the door on account of economics. we will find a way to make it work. We have to. And it's not because they're just a good player. It gets back to what Carm was saying. We have to take care of people and create good people from being like that, passing on those values.
It's still to this day, we've got a fund within the club that if someone can't afford to play or has some financial challenges, that we take care of them because we want the little boy or girl to be able to play. And that person, who knows, they're going to be so appreciative. They're going to go and work extra hard and really embrace the club even further. And, to give you an example, this club, we've had up and downs and a moment that I always appreciate was when we came back in the early 2000s and really created a team again to represent the Italian community, but also the soccer community as a whole. And, a little tidbit, we were actually in the very first Amway Canadian Championship in the final. Columbus playing against Montreal Impact in 2007. And I had the honor of coaching and playing with that team. And, it's just little things like that. Nobody would have expected it. And these are kids that, 5-6 years ago weren't on our team, or we didn't have a team.
An amazing journey, the Columbus journey. Joe, before we let you go, I know you wanted to say something.
Well, I wanted also, something that was very important to me, or for the club, not for me, is the induction into the Canadian Soccer Hall of Fame as an organization of distinction. And that was a big honor for the club. And subsequently, we're also the BC Soccer Hall of Fame. And I thought, I think that's very important for the club. But it just shows what the organization of this team over the years and what it's produced.
Joe, thank you so much. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking us on this journey with Columbus and really giving back to the community. It means so much, not only to BC, but to Canada. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
When you step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll find some that have lived in every era of the game in this province. Few have that perspective quite like Bobby Lenarduzzi. A former player, a scrappy defender, a former Vancouver 86er and Vancouver Whitecap executive, Bobby Lenarduzzi has done it all from the grassroots all the way up to the pros in the city of Vancouver. I had an opportunity to speak with Bobby Lenarduzzi on the state of the game in the great country of ours, Canada.
What a time. Less than a year, we're going to see the World Cup here and in Toronto. Talk about it.
Yeah, no, I would never have, if anyone had ever asked me that question, will the World Cup come to Canada, specifically Vancouver, in your lifetime? I would have said no, I don't think so. But strides have been made to the point where we've put ourselves in that position, and Victor deserves a lot of credit for flying the flag. And it's not an easy one for him because people know he's from Vancouver, people know he's from Canada, so he has to be careful how he positions it. But he's been able to get it to the point where it is here. And I mean, ironically enough, we were out. Vancouver were out the first go round, and there was a lot of work done there with the May live in peace John Horgan, who actually came back and said, no, we need to do this. This is important. And so yeah, we get the opportunity to host 7 games, maybe more, because there's some chatter about indoor stadiums, and so it could be more, but 7. This place, so what I do is in my head, I just go to, okay, what is the best case scenario here? So play in Toronto. Okay, that's great. We start there.
Absolutely. It's going to be great.
Come for 2 games here in the group stage. So we're going to get out of the group stage. We're going to get out of the group stage. Then the next stage are the knockout rounds. Right. Well, the next one is here.
Is here, correct.
So we'll play in that. And then let's get through that one, and then we will play in the one after that.
As a grandfather, we'll close it out with this. Are you going to be confident enough that we're going to leave something for your grandchildren to be proud of? The game, the efforts that you put in and everything?
Yeah, I think we're already on our way, and that work has been done just by keeping it alive from 1974 through to now with different versions of the professional game, some at a higher level, some not. But the fact that that's been able to happen, I think, has put us in this position to be hosting a World Cup, and I think we're in great shape. But what I liken it to is in '94 when the Americans got the World Cup. Yep. I remember We were playing in Hamilton, actually, with the we were playing against the Hamilton Steelers, and I remember hearing the announcement, and I said to our equipment man, Jacques Bernard, I said, fantastic, because it was in '87, so there was 7 years before the World Cup. I said, now it's going to have to be top of mind. The league will probably start, which was MLS. Unfortunately, CPL kind of hit the skids at that stage, but it's something that provided, and it was beneficial to the Americans mostly, but we benefited as well, just by the sport having the profile that it had. And they start the MLS. Well, here we are. After all this time, you look at MLS and you've got clubs worth over $1 billion. So that needed to happen. This is just icing on the cake. This will propel it from where it is now, which is in a good place, to a whole different level after people experience the passion of all the supporters that are coming from all those respective countries that live and die for their sport.